We have chosen Indonesia as a country for inflation and unemployment analysis. Indonesia is a country in Southeast Asia and officially known as the Republic of Indonesia. It consists of more than 17,000 islands, including Sulawesi, Sumatra, Java, and parts of New Guinea and Borneo. Indonesia is the world's fourth most populous country with over 270 million people. Joko Widodo is the current president of the Republic of Indonesia. Indonesia has the largest economy in Southeast Asia and is considered an emerging market economy and has classified as a newly industrialized country because it is a middle-income country and a member of the G20. By nominal GDP, Indonesia is the 70th largest economy in the world. Indonesia is relying on its domestic market government, spending and ownership of state-owned businesses. The management of prices of variety of necessities such as rice and electricity are also very important in Indonesia's market economy. However, since the 1990s, foreign businesses and individual Indonesians have controlled the majority of the economy. The major export goods and services are oil and gas, minerals, crude palm oil, electrical appliances, and rubber products, while the main trading partners are Japan, China, Singapore, and South Korea. The main import goods are machinery and industrial equipment, steel, foodstuffs, petroleum product, electronics, raw material, chemicals products, transportation products. The major industrial sectors include petroleum and natural gas, textiles and apparel, mining, footwear, plywood, rubber, and chemical fertilizers. The official currency of Indonesia is the rupiah. It is controlled and issued by Bank Indonesia. What is inflation? Inflation is defined as a persistent and sustained rise in an economy's aggregate or average price level of goods and services. Inflation denotes an increase in the cost of living, which reduces purchasing power. It is a situation in which too much money is chasing too few goods. As a result, there is an inverse relationship between inflation and the purchasing power of money. When inflation is high, the purchasing power of money falls and vice versa. Inflation reduces the value of a currency because the consumer's money today cannot buy as much as it could yesterday.
Based on the chart in the annual inflation rate in Indonesia, in May 2022 increased to 3.55% from 3.7% in April 2023, exceeding the general market trend of 3.6% since December 2017. This is the highest reading, with food price rising 5.62% as spending surged during the Eid al-Fitr holiday the most since March 2020. Indonesian economy briskly rebounded from the downturn in the third quarter and ended 2022 with output higher than the pre-pandemic 2018. Growth was broad-based, and it is expected to pick up in 2022 as economic activity normalizes. Private consumption and investment gained traction in 2020 and the third COVID-19 wave began. Should have minimal impact on growth. The Russian invasion Ukraine, however, is prolonged, could significantly affect inflation and the fiscal balance. Indonesian consumer spending and manufacturing activity have been consistently rising due to the pickup in incomes, jobs, and confidence. Investment in manufacturing from expanding demand, improvement in the investment and business climate, and a recovery credit. Inflation, which averaged 1.6% last year, is forecast to rise to 3.6 in 2022 due to the faster economic growth and higher commodity price, but it will still be within the Bank Indonesian target range. Inflation should ease to 3.0% in 2022 as commodity price increase abate higher price for Indonesian commodity exports. However, it should compensate for lower export volumes, maintain a balanced current account and produce some revenue gain. Our inflation notched its fifth straight month of acceleration and rose to 2% and it more than the previous month's 1.8%. They are looking forward then expect price pressure to continue to build, especially as geopolitical developments drive up the price of both food items and energy. They expect both headline and core inflation to trend higher in the coming months, with full year inflation forecast to hit 3.4%. The price increase at the consumer level reflects the measure of inflation.
There are three causes of inflation include fluctuation of fuel prices, the growth of money supply, and the growth of domestic products. The fluctuation fuel prices, fluctuations of world oil expenses are problems in international locations in the world, both of exporter and importer countries, because of the essential role of oil as a gasoline that drives the economy. If the gasoline fees increase, so it will impact on the Indonesian economic system directly. The effect of fuel expenditures on creating countries is significant. Most of oil importing nations from Asia faces quite few problems which include inflation. So economic growth and income are threatened and stability of fee also deficit. The second one is the growth of money supply. Growth of money in economic increase have been major troubles of economy. Increase in cash its capacity demand for cash increase. Automatically, the extra cash circulating in the community motives the fee of cash come to be lower, so rupiah trade rate will be depreciated in time period of dollar. The last is the growth of domestic products. Growth of domestic products, GDP is one of warning sign that measure monetary of Indonesia. Gross home product can reflect the wealth of nation, but GDP can be one of symptoms that measure Indonesian economic progress. In the middle of economic execution improvement, Indonesian financial still deals with issue, for example, capital inflow, expansion rate, banking area, and area gaining.
The effect of inflation in Indonesia. First, effect on fluctuation can causes a decrease in production. The cause is that rising cost in less availability of essential production inputs. As a result, productivity and economic growth rates are decreasing. Then, full price shock may occur in an increase in the cost of industrial production, which will reduce production and raise the unemployment rate. Other than that, if money supply is increased, it will affect bank interest rate. Bank interest rate will fall, and the investor will typically invest their fund rather than place them in a bank. The amount of money supplies are restricted or broad understanding. In more general meaning, the term money supply refer to quasi money, which are assets that are readily convertible into cash. Moreover, the effect of inflation in Indonesia is economic expansion start to slow because of commodity price collapse. Therefore, the Indonesian government should not lessen its focus on encouraging the development of value-add activities this time, while also encouraging the integration of Indonesia into the global supply chains. In case commodity price will again experience a super cycle. The investment atmosphere improvement is essential because it will attract foreign direct investment.
There is the three ways, the method to overcome inflation by Indonesia. The first way is by inflation expectation. Inflation expectation plays an important role in the implementation of monetary policy. For example, the price adjustment made by economic agents in each period mainly depends on the expected inflation in future periods. Secondly, by exchange rate. Exchange rate is an important of the monetary policy transmission mechanism in small open economies that employ floating exchange rates such as Indonesia. Economists use the term exchange rate pass-through, or what's known as ERPT, to understand how exchange rate fluctuation affect price. For example, the lower the RPT grade, the smaller the rate adjustment required to maintain the inflation target. And lastly, by impact on monetary policy. Although some significant moments have been improved by using ITF in Indonesia in July, but central banks will gradually regain confidence and move toward low and stable inflation by reassuring the public of their commitment. Inflation expectation can be fixed over time. That's all for the method overcome inflation by Indonesia. What is an unemployment? Unemployment is a number of people in the labor force who want to work but unable to find a job. Unemployment frequently used as indicator for economic health in a country. The actually population in a country between the age of 15 until the 65, known as the labor force. They are referred to the economically active population because they include both employed and unemployed people. There are 6 types of unemployment, which is classical unemployment, fractional unemployment, seasonal unemployment, structural employment, technological unemployment, and cyclical unemployment. These are the graph that the employment rate in Indonesia. The figure shows that in the first quarter of 2022, the employment rate in Indonesia fell to 5.83% from 6.26% in the same quarters earlier. The number of unemployed people decreased by 0.35 million to 8.5 million. At the same time, the number of employment increased by 4.156 million to 135.61 million. And the largest increasing is in agriculture sector, while the other service reported the largest decrease.
I would like to share with you guys about the unemployment rate in Indonesia. The figure shows that in the first quarter of 2022, the unemployment rate in Indonesia fell to 5.83% from 6.26% in the same quarters earlier. The number of unemployed people decreased by 0.35 million to 8.4 million. At the same time, the number of employments increased by 4.55 million to 135.61 million, and the largest increasing is in agriculture sector, while other services reported the largest decrease.
Issues of unemployment in Indonesia. The first issue is unemployment among the youth. Youth unemployment 15 to 24 years old has always been a fascinating issue to discuss. Indonesia is the 4th largest youth population in the world. The rate of unemployment among the youth than adults are higher. The educational system is targeting the wrong demographic has caused young educated people face the threat of poor education quality. knowledgeable personnel are actually a necessity in order to increase productivity level and competitive appeal of Indonesian labor on the international market. The second issue is migrant workers and gender discrimination. Unemployment has induced the rapid movement of people to migrate between islands, cities, and even countries. People migrate to overseas for a variety of reasons, which is low income, widespread poverty, and limited domestic opportunity. They move specifically to seek out promising work with higher salaries. Gender remains an intriguing topic, especially in relation to employment. Majority of female migrant workers predominate in the informal sectors such as housemaids. The disparity in the treatment of female workers is the most noticeable example of gender discrimination in Indonesia. Women's subordination in society contributes to the widening gap between men and women's relationship. The third issue is informal sectors and the poor. In Indonesia, the labor market is divided into two, which is one side provides formal work and another side provides informal work. Rural areas have a larger informal workforce than urban areas. Women has higher proportion in dominating the informal sector than men. In terms of economic growth and intensity, the marginal sector exhibits poor work pattern that involve prolonged working hours and low wages.
Causes of unemployment in Indonesia. First, the difficulty to meet the job seeker and vacancy. Some of the vacancy that available do not announce at social media. People who find the job sometimes miss the information. Some company do not spread the vacancy, or manager of the position prefer to fill the position through the recommendation. Furthermore, the reason why people difficult to find a vacancy because maybe high demand for the salary. Some companies in Indonesia want to see the experience compared to certificate. Second, the causes of unemployment in Indonesia is the global market. The most significant issue ever will be unemployment in the era of open global market and commerce. There would be a large number of foreign business founded, but they typically use some of the labor from their home countries rather than local labor. Third, the causes of unemployment in Indonesia is imbalance between employment and the amount of labor. Every day, more people were hired. Because there are so few jobs available, it's becoming more difficult for even undergraduates and master degree holder to get employment. More qualified job openings are needed than there are open positions. Population growth in Indonesia is not give job for the people but causes more and more unemployed among the young graduates.
The effects of unemployment in Indonesia. To individual, the individual may involve in violence, promote gangsterism and crime. This is because to earn money to continue their living. Next, abuse occur. For example, if women did not working, they might be the victim of abuse. Other than that, higher job insecurity. Due to this, some Indonesian option to be unemployed rather than take danger of working. While effects to the economic growth are reduced economic activity of unemployment happens, the efforts to rebuild the economy maybe cannot be achieved because it is need a lot of employees to produce the output. Next, less female workers in labor. This is because not every woman can do the heavy work. Apart from that, the country is still lagging behind the production. Cannot be produced at maximum because less manpower with experience in industry. Effects to social. The first one is underestimated by the society. People will assume these unemployed are incapable of meeting their wants. Second, less local workers. This situation occurs because the local industry offers less employment opportunities to local people. Last but not least, increase in the poverty. Lack of employment opportunities resulted in locals having no choice of employment and they decided not to work and remain poor.
Method to overcome unemployment by Indonesia. The firstly is by MSME, or as known as Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise. Strengthening and developing the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise is a government attempt to overcome the problems of unemployment and poverty. Secondly, both micro, small and medium-sized enterprise (UMKM) and large entrepreneurs make independent and voluntary efforts to take strategic and realistic steps in doing business. For example, micro, small and medium-sized enterprise (MSME) entrepreneurs need to constantly strive to improve their production, management and marketing skills in order to maximize production outcomes and grow or develop their businesses. And lastly, by financial institutions should be able to support the development of companies in the small and medium-sized enterprise sector in form of debt capital. With the above programs and roles, Indonesia want to develop the economy through the MSME, or as known as small and medium enterprise sector. That's all for the method unemployment by Indonesia.
Public policies in Indonesia, a system of rules, regulation, courses of action, and financial priorities involving a specific subject that have been established by a governmental body or its representative is known as a public policy. To control inflation, governments can implement wage and price control, although these measures haven't always worked well. In order to reduce the amount of money in an economy, governments can also adopt a contractionary monetary policy. Fiscal policy. With the goal of preserving overall budgetary discipline, Indonesia has consistently maintained a responsible and cautious fiscal policy. Firstly, increase in tax. Effectively reducing the effects of inflation on the economy requires a tax system that is very regressive. Secondly, decrease in government expenditure. Reduced government spending will directly impact total demand. Monetary policy. The primary goal of monetary policy is to establish and uphold rupiah stability, which is demonstrated by low and stable inflation. Firstly, open market operation. Open market operation are transactions in the money market or foreign exchange market that Bank Indonesia conducts with banks or other parties for monetary operation. Secondly, interest rate. The Central Bank of Republic of Indonesia is responsible for setting interest rate in Indonesia. Thirdly, exchange rate. The USD or IDR spot price is represented by the Jakarta Interbank Spot Dollar Rate.
Finally, in the investigation of the effects of inflation and unemployment on economic growth in Indonesia, although the relationship between some variables is not clearly shown, there is still a correlation that is a strong variable when it comes to creating appropriate fiscal and monetary policies for the economy in Indonesia. It cannot be ignored. As a result of higher inflation, it is difficult to measure the impact on the different income groups. In other words, higher inflation was due to rising price of goods and services consumed by people of all income levels. The best examples are as these commodities are food, energy, and food. As a result, Inflation, unemployment, and economic growth are all effects. There is clearly a model of recovery in the economy through oil prices, on the other hand, have increased the cost of essential goods and services, including food and transportation. This caused inflation to rise in the economy in Indonesia. Next, the fact that economic expansion has a serious impact on employment is the result of many studies conducted by experts from Asia. Economic growth should be the second goal from the Indonesian government, with the primary goal of reducing the country's persistently high unemployment rate through job creation for the unemployed. Due to the fact that inflation is a good thing and has a huge impact on employment, it should be addressed by the Indonesian government as a way to reduce the rising cost of goods like the method used to tackle inflation. In the conclusion, the bad things that may be related between unemployment and inflation are important things that serve as the basis of macroeconomic management and public economic policy for various countries. The study explores the relationship between inflation and unemployment rate that is the limit to the Indonesia, as this study shows that the inflation rate can be considered as interrelated for one other and the employment rate can also be considered as integrated for one and other to a country.